pretty much facing me, and I'm like, okay, that doesn't look right. The SUV is not moving, for one, and if anything, he would be turning this way. I shouldn't really see so much of his front side. And then while I'm looking at it, I noticed his hazards are on. Okay, his emergency brake lights were on. And I'm like, okay, I'm scanning because I'm still coming up towards this turn, and eventually I'll have to make a turn. So I scan down the hill, and I see cars starting to line up. I'm like, oh great, this can't be good. So I mean, it was inevitable to think that something had happened. Even then, I was trying to put together what could it be, and that perhaps it was a car on car, or even worse, a car on a bicyclist, because technically there was supposed to be a marathon or a race happening the day after on a Monday, and we were there on a Sunday. Maybe it was just scouting, and there was a lot of bicyclists, and maybe the SUV clipped the bicyclist or something. Okay, so I'm heading down the U-turn, making the left, heading back up, and these thoughts are still processing through my head, and I'm thinking, or it could be one of our guys, and I was hoping it wasn't. I mean, it just, so many thoughts run through your head. You're approaching, and then I cut off some of the cars. I know there was no oncoming traffic, because since the road was pretty much blocked by the SUV. So me and all the other riders who were catching up were cutting through, and we pull up. We see Joe, who is this really tall, probably 6 foot something rider, frantically heading over to the SUV along with other drivers and probably the driver of the car and all that. Looking under the car, I'm like, oh, no way. So I get off my bike. I look under the SUV, and there was one of our riders were under the SUV. I mean, that was something that was just beyond belief. Some of the stuff you hear so much about, but you never... Where the hell is my spark plug? Some of the things you hear a lot, but you never, expect for yourself to be in that situation where you can actually see it. So I'm looking under, and Josh, oh wow, what the fuck? Huh. What is this gunk? And so Joshua's pinned under his SUV, and I look around, and I'm like, I don't see his bike anywhere. Not even, I don't see his bike in front of the SUV. So it makes me think, did he low side, and somehow the bike got by the SUV as the SUV passed? Or you just wonder, like, there's no way he can end up under that car, and the bike being nowhere in sight. We look at the ground. Oh, what the fuck? So we're looking at the ground, and I notice a really long scratch, kind of like skid mark, probably from one of the metal pieces on the bike. And there goes the bike. It's about 25-50 feet behind where the SUV has stopped. Front wheel and front part of the body wedged under the guardrail. And I'm like, wow. So everyone's trying to help get Josh out of there. He is conscious, so he's moaning and groaning. He's obviously in pain, but I was told that he was not, he was trying to be somewhat a man about it, but in that situation, no one really cares whether you want to be manly or not, and they're just trying to get you out of there. And so they're trying to get him out. Luckily, some car had a jack, and we were able to jack the front of the bike up. And by jacking jacking the front of the SUV up. And Joe told me that later on in the day, when they jacked up the car, it it was surprising that Joshua wasn't pinned in as much as everyone thought, because as the SUV finally started moving up, Josh was already clear of the car, so it looked like he just barely got stuck in there. And what it was, I believe, was the helmet that got wedged. And as the helmet got wedged between the pavement and the car, he got hooked onto the car that way and dragged, essentially, I believe, 25-50 feet under the car. One of the other riders salvaged the visor of his helmet, and it was like grinded down pretty bad. It didn't fully grind down, but it was pretty bad. I wish I took a picture of that. So they pull him out. The whole time Josh wanting to move and wanting to just get out of there, and everyone was trying to keep him steady, because without knowing the extent of his injuries, we don't know if him moving at the time was such a good idea. So I mean, paramedics, or here's another funny part was, it so happens that while we were there where we were on the road, nobody had a reception. Nobody's cell phone had reception. We're like, no way. So we had a couple riders shoot up north on Highway 1 and back down south, just to hit any town, any small town, any home that has a landline, so that they can call for help.